let's talk a little bit about something that has become really popular lately. It's always been popular, going back to the very beginnings of this nation. And that is a practice called voter harvesting. So what these guys do is go out, collect votes to turn in masse. The only reason for somebody to get involved in voter harvesting is so that you can manipulate the votes. From its very beginning and from the early days and ever since today, it continues. It is a vehicle not to get out the vote so that the people's voices are heard. Voter harvesting, and the reason you get into voter harvesting is simply to manipulate, to cheat the votes, to make sure that your candidate for your agenda gets into the office that you want. That is the only reason. And because voter harvesting is nothing but a vehicle for fraud, it should be illegal. It should be illegal. And I think the other thing that should also be illegal is gerrymandering voter districts. Voter districts, and I learned this painfully and firsthand when I ran for public office in Utah a long time ago. We don't need to revisit that subject. We can talk about that later. But when you gerrymander the voting districts, you are manipulating everything. You're manipulating the geopolitical makeup of the areas. Voter districts should be broken down simply by candidate, or not by candidate, I'm sorry, by the county. Straight up county. Your county is your voter district, and you got different polling stations within your county. No more gerrymandering unless you're going to rewrite your county boundaries. And I think that's going to be a bigger problem for corrupt politicians than anything else. When you look at the voter districts for the state of Utah, it is completely jacked up. But that's another subject for another day. Voter harvesting needs to be a banned practice. Voters should vote in person at their polling stations on the day of the vote, on the day of the election, or early voting at designated county approved early voting stations should be fine in the weeks leading up to election day, so that either way you're voting in person. Now, if you are an absentee voter, you're out of state and you can't vote in your election because of your job or military commitment, well, then you should be able to cast an absentee ballot well ahead of time. For example, right now, you should be able to cast your ballot. And those ballots are collected and saved and then tallied on election day. If it doesn't get into the voting office by a cutoff day, and that cutoff day should be before the election day, actually, then it's too late. You're too late and your ballot is not counted. It sucks to be that. But voter harvesting is a way to manipulate votes. Now, why is this important? It's really important because the best voter turnout in the U.S., you have a 20% voter turnout. If you have 20%, that's a high turnout for that election, and that's awesome. That's your sample size, and elections are decided on that. So if you can sway just a couple percentile points, you can make a big difference. And that's where these voter harvesting scams come in. Get out to the polling station and cast your ballot. Cast it in person. It's the only way. And with 20% being freaking amazing, that is leaving a huge amount of improvement. And they're not going to be able to cheat that much. If you want honest voting, vote in person, require ID. Think about that.